Welcome back to a cold, wet, then not wet, then wet again, Oulton Park for the final GB3 race of the weekend. Piers Pryor alongside me here. It's kind of uncertain, isn't it, whether it's going to be a wet race or a dry race. At the moment it's kind of spitting. A minute ago the sun was out. I mean, it must be hard as a driver to know what's going to happen next and prepare yourself.
Yeah, you have to be ready for every eventuality. We saw in the last race everyone went out on slicks and it started raining, some people came in, there was chaos at the start, and then a solid wet race for the drivers. They've had some experience in the wet now. I believe they might have had one wet session earlier in the week, but who knows for this coming up race.
Yeah, it's really uncertain, but a good win for James Headley. We didn't even know if he'd be on the grid this weekend. He was at the last minute, did very well, came fourth in the first race. He took the victory in that second race, which was done in those horrendous conditions that Piers just mentioned. Let's watch back the highlights from race 2, the first race of the day here on Bank Holiday Monday at Oulton Park.
Highlights from what was an extremely wet second race of the GB3 weekend. The first race on Monday, and the race will be underway. So to Arau with a poor start from the second row of the grid, and it was a brilliant one from drivers like Matthew Rees and James Headley, who'd got up to second position on the race down towards the first corner. Joseph Loke was still able to hang on. Alex Dunn working his way up the order. Arthur Roujon having a couple of problems, and same with David Morales, who would go straight over the chicane at Britain's, was able to keep ahead of Styko. There's a bit of a spin from one of the Elite Motorsports cars though coming through the Hislop chicane, was thankfully avoided by everyone, but unfortunately for Nico Christodoulou, wrong place, wrong time, basically had to come to a complete stop before he was able to get back going again. Then there was this, the battle for the race lead. Headley had caught his way up to the rear end of Joseph Loke, and a well-timed up and under going through Druids up towards the final corner at Lodge, and it was that number 4 on the left-hand side taking over the race lead. James Headley was looking extremely fast at this point. Would he be able to pull away? There was this moment from Alex Dunn, who was attacking hard through the midpoint of the race, went wide going through Cascades, just touching the grass on the right-hand side, and it pulled him straight off the circuit. He was not the only driver to have struggled through there. Speaking of drivers and speaking of their struggles, both of these, that is David Morales and Stewart, that both went wide going through Druids, unsighted into the corner, and both of them avoiding the barrier, thankfully. Callum Voisin, who had caught up to Joseph Loke, was attacking for second position. A good up and under through Lodge corner would give him second as he would race his way across the line. And then late in the race there was this from the Douglas Motorsports car of Sean Rashid, out wide, out into the barrier, and it wouldn't cause a safety car, but that was done under double waved yellows, and it would effectively end the race going through that corner. No runs up towards Lodge, no more overtakes really, and just perfect laps done by this driver here. James Headley would take victory in the race. He was caught late on by Callum Voisin. Joseph Loke in third.
Well, here we are in assembly. The car's just going out now. We can see the car, the hill speed car of Daniel Mavletov. He's starting on pole position this reverse grid race, with Sean Rashid for Douglas starting second and Edward Pearson with Vortex third. Now Piers, all of those drivers starting on wet tyres.
Yes, but then the rest of the grid, pretty much the rest of the grid, are on slicks. There's only a few tyres, a few drivers, including all 3 elite cars are on wet tyres, but a lot of everyone else are on slicks. Very, very mixed grid. This is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I was just chatting with the Douglas mechanic there and saying that, you know, the track is still really, really wet, and he was a little bit confused as to why everyone was panicking and changing onto slick tyres. Yeah,
but at the same time, the track will definitely dry out quickly with, you know, 25 GB3 cars on circuit. It's going to be anyone's guess, John. I don't know. It's potentially either the front 3 could drive away with this and wets at the front, or alternatively the driver in 4th who's on slicks.
Yeah, Timet Kaharchik going through with Douglas there. Also with full wets on James Headley, who won that second race. He's on slicks. Arau also on wets there. Callum Voisin on wets, and Callum Voisin, one of the more experienced drivers in the GB3 field.
Interesting.
He's on wets.
Interesting, actually. The JHR cars have split their strategy. Joseph Loke on slicks, while Matthew Rees has gone on wets. So not even any consensus among the teams, really.
No, well, they're just giving it a good go. Anyway, look, it's the final race of the weekend here in the GB3 Championship. It's the reverse grid race. Let's get ready to race.
Race 3, of course, being the full reverse grid. So it's been an interesting day, a very hard race too, of course, in that wet weather and all the difficulties out there. As we'll take a look then at the grid order. I'll just read it through for you at home so you can see. Daniel Mavliatov will start from pole position alongside Sean Rashid, Edward Pearson, Noah Ping. Zach Taylor will be starting from 5th position with Mackenzie Cresswell in 6th, Oliver Stewart, and then Ayato Iwasaki. John Bennett inside the top 10 with 9th, and then Lucas Staiko starting from 10th. Gerard Shee, Nico Christodoulou will start from 11th and 12th, and then we've got Michael Shin, we've got Costa Taparis, we've got then Jared Waberski, David Morales in 16th position, Artur Roujon, Max Esterson, Tymek Kershek. And then we've got James Headley, our race winner in race 2 of the weekend, Suta Arau, Callum Voisin, Matthew Rees and Joseph Loke. Your order for this grid. Loke, after that fantastic double pole position, starting from the rear of the field. It's going to be a fantastic race. I have absolutely no doubt, Piers Pryor.
Well, hopefully we're back online. It's looking like a dry line on circuit, very much a mixture of tyre choices here, Lewis. We've gone slicks, we've gone wets, even some of the teams have split their own strategy, so it's not even consensus among teammates as the two drivers at the back of the field, Matthew Rees and Joseph Loke on slicks, Rees on wets. It's looking like, in this section of the circuit at least, that slicks are the way forward, but not definitely.
Yeah, potentially so. I mean, like I say, it's just it's absolute madness out there. We've had an interesting day. There's been a lot going on, including some of those. So I do apologise for those issues. We've got one into the pit lane there. Who was that who just jumped into the pit lane in the distance? It looked like it was one of the, potentially the Rodin Carlins, maybe? Someone definitely was coming in.
You've got
maybe
Rees.
It was just my eyes.
That is Rees who is coming. So clearly Rees has decided that his wet tyres were not... Rees at the front of the field in the pit lane, so he's decided the wet tyres are not the way forward. But we've still got, that is Mavliatov on pole on the wet tyres as we see the 5-second ball come out. Lewis, I'll let you talk to the start.
Here we go then. So the first reverse grid of the season, it's 25 cars spun around to the front of the field. It's Mavliatov as race 3 will get underway. Mavliatov with a decent start. He'll lead downwards, and there's a staller on the grid. Oh my goodness, that was Staiko into the rear, and I think of potentially Mackenzie Cresswell, might have been Ayato Iwasaki that had the issue. And there is indeed, it's gone to, yeah, it's a bit of a mare at the moment, and another one. That's Callum Voisin who's off.
Voisin is off. That is a massive, massive move for the championship. As you can see the drivers exiting the pit lane. Now there's a river across the circuit going down Cascades as well.
Yeah, it looks really, really tricky out there. Like you say, some on slicks, some on wets, and it is just drama. There is Stewart leaving coming to the end of pit lane as we come down Lakeside through Island Bend down towards Shell Oils. That is the craziest start we have ever had for a GB3 race, that is for sure.
That is a crazy start. We can see side by side at the back of the field. We're still racing because it's not yellow flags yet. Hopefully those cars on the start-finish line can get removed quite quickly as they bump their way through the field. Oh, that is Rashid who's had contact from the front row of the grid. Yeah. He must have got hit. As we can see, the number 3 there, that is the Arden VRD car. Ping looking very racy. Of course, he's the highest placed slick-shod driver at the moment. Jogan Bennett making a little bit of a move down the inside, going into Hislops as he's trying to make his way up the order, of course. Safety car is out now. Safety car has just been released. Oh, no. I was saying about John Bennett. He's been spun round at Hislops. Yeah, that was an Arden VRD car. I didn't quite catch the number there, but yeah, safety car's been pulled. We can see that... it might have been Christodoulou. Yeah, Mavliatov is now leading the pace. He's slowed down, the right thing to do. The cars hopefully will slow down gradually so we don't have a repeat of yesterday's issues. Yeah, we're being told the car that's on the start-finish line it's unable to move. Obviously, Staiko was one of the ones that got into it. I didn't catch which elite it might have been. Let's have a look on the live timing. We'll be able to tell who it is. That's 16, so it'll be Mackenzie. That is Cresswell. That is Cresswell. That's really unfortunate from someone not too bad of a position. He was fairly high up the grid. He was looking for a strong race in this one. He's on slick tyres, which looks like the right tyre to be on. Yeah, interesting. Number 20, Jared Waberski offline. Is he on the wet still, trying to keep them cool? Oh, there's Rashid's car.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that car is toast. I mean, like, you know, front suspension, you might be able to get it back to the pit lane, you know, if you've got it broken. Rear, no way.
Yeah, that's
not a chance.
And then, Bennett's stuck as well.
Oh, no.
Bennett has had an absolutely torrid weekend.
Yeah, for someone who came into it, obviously with the top 10 consistency that he had, the fact that he is having such a difficult weekend. He was coming into I don't want to speak for him, but probably expecting podiums, you know, potentially wins and such. We'll take a look, by the way, at some of the replays of this race start. Let's see what happens. So Cresswell's the one that obviously stalled.
Styko
and then
Styko
straight in the rear end.
Nowhere to go though, really.
He was completely blind.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Let's have a look at Cresswell there, stopped. Who is it that just missed him? That was another elite car. Is that Iwasaki?
No, I think that might... No, it would be Iwasaki, yeah.
The good news is in that incident that both drivers should be absolutely fine. As you can see here, look, from a different angle, you can see the, Chris Dittman racing car going up straight up the inside. That's a great move. But that's then where the contact happened. That was where Rashid then either didn't see him or it was just a bit tight. And then Voisin, we didn't see what happened to him either because the car was there, but his suspension was already damaged on the right-hand side before he went in the barrier. So he was clearly tagged, I imagine, by either one of the JHR cars. That'll either be Reese or who was alongside him on the pit lane. That would have been Suter Arau or maybe James Headley.
I don't know.
Like
I say, there was so much happening there, and again, it's these kind of times where we feel bad for race control, clerk of the course, race directors, and whatnot. Is they've got so much to deal with.
They've not had an easy weekend, Lewis, have they? What with the safety cars, restarts, red flags, changeable weather conditions, and I'd say generally they've got a lot of the decisions correct. You know, it definitely was the right thing to let everyone go onto the wet tyres in the previous race for safety. This race definitely should have been neutralised. Hopefully we can get those cars removed fairly shortly and we'll get racing again, because this is going to be an interesting race now with the reverse grid, 16 laps. It's now raining again.
Oh my goodness me, more rain hitting the circuit. I was kind of wondering.
Mavliatov is still in first place with wet tyres on. He could be in for a win here. Mavliatov's on wet tyres and it's raining.
Madness. Hill speed, of course. Now, I know you might look at that. Obviously, fans of the championship last year, you remember Nick Gilks, and you'll sit there and think that's definitely not a hill speed. That definitely is a hill speed. It's just black and yellow. One thing I will say I like about them, and it's the criticism I had towards Road and Carlin with John Bennett's car, is that literally it's an elite livery with a bit of blue on it. Whereas at least Mavliatov's car is wild.
No, it's not. Is that someone off, or is that just Taylor weaving to the inside?
Are you panicking?
I thought I saw someone sideways across the circuit. Maybe they were just going slowly.
Well, there isn't.
Sorry to panic you, everyone. I think everyone's okay.
I mean, Zach Taylor's not in fourth. I didn't see him in fourth.
Hang on.
There's a fourth car line. So let's go through this. There's Mavliatov, there's Ping, there's Iwasaki. There is no Zach Taylor in there.
Taylor was
You were absolutely right. There is no Zach Taylor in there.
He is. He's still going, but he's lost a lot of position. So clearly lit up the rears are going.
Yeah, because there he is right at the back. He's just come under the bridge now, basically passing the pit entry now in the Chris Dittman racing car. The one that's coming through the first of the Chris Dittman racing cars, that's Roujon. And then you've got, like I say, we've got Loke here. By the way, decent progress from Loke so far.
Yeah.
Reese, I believe, and then it's Taylor, who's dropped back 11 positions.
I tell you what, Reese came in the pits and changed from wets to slicks and started from the head of the pit lane, and he's now right behind Loke. He's done well to not lose any positions with the wrong tyre choice. So the JHR team have done an excellent job in the pit lane to reduce his impact of going on what was at that time the wrong tyre. Who knows now, because it's still spitting quite heavily at the comms box, the start-finish line, as you can see. Yep, the umbrellas are going up. Yes, look, it's definitely wetter out there. Look, you can see the tracks on the circuit from where the tyres are running over the water. So this is going to get very, very interesting. The changeable weather rolling the dice once again.
It's, front wing damage on Christodoulou.
Yes.
Nico Christodoulou with the front wing damage. I wonder if that would have been under safety car. Like you say, you've got to say that to start out a championship and start out a season like this must be unreal levels of difficulty, especially for those that are new to the GB3 Championship, which there are quite a few. Being a feeder series, obviously people move on, people move forward, people then come up the order into GB3. Starting off, obviously, Saturday. Beautiful conditions, not a single problem with any of that. And then Monday, it has been the most inconsistent day of weather that I've seen on a motorsport weekend for a while.
It's just literally been sun, rain, sun, rain, sun,
Yeah.
rain. And also a welcome to the UK for all of our foreign drivers. I think it's 13 different nations, most of which are warmer and less wet than the UK. So they're getting a good taste of the weather. But that's why in the UK we have so many world-class drivers, in my opinion, because we have to, from karting, deal with all of these adverse weather conditions. So we're just hardy, we're just used to it. And
There
that's
is a bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, so then, you know, a lot of these drivers have been karting for years in the UK. Wet weather and change of weather is not a new thing.
Yeah, it's the adaptability that you have to have. If you want to win a championship at this level, you have to be super, super adaptable. It's what makes the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, so good. It is that, you know, the final step before a lot of these drivers go and race in Europe and stuff. And so we race in Europe ourselves, you know, obviously with Spa and Zandvoort throughout the season. Lights are still on safety cars, so we're not going racing this time, but we can continue on the waffle, don't worry about it. So obviously going to Spa, going to Zandvoort, so going to International, obviously race at Silverstone as well, another Grand Prix circuit. Then all the drivers have to get used to racing on a tight and twisty stuff, which they might have already raced before, but in an incredibly fast car.
Yeah.
In difficult conditions and obviously, yeah, we're the commentators here for the championship, so we're going to big it up a little bit. But the grid, though, for this season is ridiculous.
25.
It's so strong.
25 of the best of 2 drivers coming in the pit, so they're hitting from slicks to wets.
They've got to be going slicks to
Could this be
wets.
the first ever GB3 race where someone makes 2 pit stops and still is on the lead lap? Yes, that is number 7 there. That is Timek Kuharczyk coming in from slicks to wets.
17 is Ollie Stewart, who started from the pit lane.
Yes, so that is interesting. Yeah, Stewart would have gone wets to slicks, back to wets, but I heard a quote when I was younger, and it kind of stuck with me, and it's a good quote, which is, doesn't matter how many times you change tyres, as long as you're on the right tyres at the right time.
Yeah, I remember.
Because these guys can join, if they can, get out shortly, join the back of the safety car queue and be some of the only drivers who are on potentially the wet tyres when it is still raining. Although I say that, it's blue sky.
That was the mantra, of course, that Jenson Button had. Anyone who remembers the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, where Jenson Button won, I think it was with 6 trips down pit lane, 2 of them drive-throughs, 4 of them pit stops.
And it was the longest Formula 1 race ever and didn't lead a lap until the last lap.
The last lap, and it was a mistake as well from Sebastian Vettel coming down into turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
It was technically the third chicane. But yeah, this is the thing, that race, that was the prime example of, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't matter. Be on the right tyres at the right time. You always want to be that hero of the one that we're all shouting about in the country. We've been like, I can't believe he's batted up in this position on the slick tyres. But
so easy to make a mistake when you're on the wrong tyre. That's the thing.
Exactly. And the shunt, if you're on slicks in this weather, if you're going to have a shunt, I don't want to talk about it in too much equipment, because obviously these cars are unbelievably safe. All the marshals, the barriers, and everything around. But if you have a shunt, it's probably going to be pretty quick in these conditions.
Edward Pearson, number 41 there in the red, white, and blue Fortec machine, he's still on wet tyres as well. Although we said that it started raining, it seems like it's actually stopped raining. So who knows what the best tyres to be on, Lewis? We'll find out in about probably approximately 14 minutes and 23 seconds time who's gone well on the tyres.
I can tell you for something, this race has been going on now for just over 10 minutes, up to 11 minutes now. And in that time, everyone has been on the wrong tyres at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In 11 minutes.
Probably won't be the last time either.
No one has been on the right tyre at the right time at every single point of this race. It's just how it goes. I believe the lights are still on a safety car. So we'll be, no, the lights are off. So we'll be going back racing again. The lap count at the top will not be correct. We'll be going back to a timed race courtesy of an extended safety car. Mavlyatov then will lead us down. But that was a big slide from Ping, who is under an awful lot of pressure now from Ayato Iwasaki, who's trying to get down the inside into the first corner and is not able to do so. Mavlyatov has checked out.
Iwasaki is very, very wide at the exit of the first, on the entry of the first corner on the wet stuff, but he's managed to make his way through, and it's still raining at turn 1.
Yeah, but it's not raining here, which we're on the other side of the start-finish straight. So there is also the move. Pearson getting his way down the inside. Another person that was playing golf when you weren't. Moving his way up the order. Is the next one will be Shin to make his way through at number 23. And what a race he had earlier on in the day. Shin side by side going through the island bend. That is superb.
It's all about tyre management for these guys at the front, because they are clearly the ones on the right tyres. We see Waberski must be on a wet tyre as well coming through. making amends for his issue in before the start of race 1. As we see, Mavlyatov going very deep into Britons, that's going to hurt his exit. He might even be under pressure.
Christodoulou in the pit lane.
He had a damaged front wing as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was the one that the mechanics were waiting for. There was something quite loose as well on, I think it was Gerard Shee's car. There was something like quite loose on the front left. Like right in the suspension housing.
Oh no, Max Esterson.
Yeah, Max Esterson.
That looks like Island. There's a big shunt down there. Yeah, that's Island corner. It must have been going side by side very early on in that fast, almost flat out left-hander. I imagine it's probably a side-by-side manoeuvre. It looked like an elite car. Can we see who it was?
Yeah, well, obviously we'll hold the speculation until we can see it on our live timing as to who it was that will be dropped down. But I can imagine that the safety car might be taking a return visit to the Oulton Park International Circuit. Already, they're weaving. I've not got anything on my live timing telling me that it's a safety car, but I was like, that's definitely a safety car out on the circuit. Christodoulou is being held by that one. As Mavlyatov comes round, I mean, to be fair, he may still win the race, just out of courtesy, you know, being at the front. I was a little concerned with him when Iwasaki made his way past Ping, because Iwasaki was looking mighty fast.
Iwasaki did have a lot of speed going into turn 1. He went wide, got the beautiful cutback. He was applying pressure to our leader, Mavlyatov, as well. So hopefully, Iwasaki will be hoping that we can go green again, because he looked very, very fast.
Wow.
Someone else in the pits. Didn't catch who that was. There's a hand up in the air. Is that a CDR car? I'm trying to make out in the back of shot. It's quite hard to see. That is a CDR car at the back. Let's see. That must be... Is it Roger again? We'll have a look on the live time. But for now, yellow flag, safety car, no overtaking. Everyone will be staying in single file.
Yeah.
They will be trying to... The drivers on slick tyres will be trying to keep as much temperature in those slicks as possible. The drivers on the wets, some of them will be weaving, but you'll notice Iwasaki in second place is currently just going in a straight line, because he's actually thinking ahead. He's thinking, I want to keep these wet tyres as cool as I can, because he knows that if it's not raining very much, which he'll have more information about that than we will, because he'll know on various parts of the circuit how wet it is and how much it's raining. If he can keep those tyres cool, they'll last longer into the race, they'll go off less at the end of the race, and he only has to pass one car on wet tyres to be the highest finishing wet shod driver. And in this situation, that's kind of how you have to think about it. You have to try and be the driver that wins based on versus all the other cars on the same tyre as you, because you cannot change realistically once you're going. You cannot change the tyre you're on. So there's no point trying to beat a car on slicks if you're on wets or vice versa, because you're going to fight with someone who's not really in your race. So therefore, the drivers on the wets at the front, which is currently of course starting the race, Mavlyatov, Iwasaki, Pearson, Shin, Waberski, and Ping. No, Ping's on slicks, isn't he? Those guys will be fighting it out. Yeah,
Ping was the one that was dropping back on those slick tyres.
On the wets.
And it's bright blue sunshine. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? I want to ask you a question. As a racing driver, as someone who's obviously been out on track, you've seen competitors, you know, obviously having an off or whatever, and then you go in a safety car. Is it ever in your mind in the race, like when you go through Island Bend here and you see a couple of cars out there, to be like, are they all right?
You might have
their friends and stuff. Most of the grid are friends.
Yeah, you will have in your mind, and you've heard, for example, Lewis Hamilton in Formula 1, they'll always be like, oh, I hope he's all right. And obviously in Formula 1, they have radio so they can actually ask. Whereas in in these races, they'll think, oh, I hope they're okay. But your job as a racing driver, your job at hand is to get that car to the finish in the highest position possible. And ultimately, you can't do anything to any of those drivers. You can't do anything to help if you're driving around. So their focus will solely be on, right, are my tyres in the right window? How are my brakes feeling? Right, where am I going?
I think it's the better thing to do. You've got to keep yourself focused on what you're doing.
Absolutely have to keep yourself focused on what you've got to do. And we're looking at the circuit now, Lewis, and
I know that's looking slick to me.
It is. It's a dry line through some of the corners, but then you're looking at the braking zone for the last corner here. Is that no, not true? It's Lodge.
Lodge, yeah.
And it's still pretty wet, so it's even if you are on slicks, right? I think, in my opinion, right now, are probably going to be the tyre you want to have. It's still going to be very sketchy.
It's more like, for me, the reason why I'd want to be on, again, not a racing driver here, as there were a couple, so going to cool the tyres, right? They're going off the line to get on the wet stuff, whatever wet stuff is there, to cool the tyres. I would rather be on wets, as we can see out of the car then. So obviously on the right hand side we've got Max Esterson, and it was Rashid was the one
Rojan.
there.
And Rojan
as well.
was also there, so he's clearly been caught up in that incident or has called off. And a separate incident
thankfully,
at the island caller.
Thankfully out of the car.
Yeah, it looks like all of those drivers are okay. We're still unsure about the Elite Motorsport car. We haven't seen anything yet, so we're hoping, fingers crossed, that everything's okay with them. Still under safety car, the car is still there, so we're going to be under safety car for a couple of more laps at least. because those cars are still stranded in a dangerous position.
I actually don't think it was an elite.
It's not an elite.
Well, because on our lifetime, the only elite that's down there is Cresswell, who obviously went out right at the start of the race. I think that we saw black and yellow, and I think it was Rojon.
Oh, it must have been just the side of that. Of course, because Chris Dittman Racing is that yellow and black and red, and maybe in the camera angle we were showing, we weren't seeing the red.
Also, you know, it is very bright and sunny now in the commentary booth, so you know, fair enough to that one. Again, got to be said, it's something that what happened when this car came out, the Tata MSV 022. The safety features, the safety implementations on the car, the halo. Yes, I know there are some motorsport fans that are sick to death of hearing about all the safety stuff, because it's kind of like, yeah, I know, we've heard about it, but you cannot make it too safe. They are going every single time with the car. They're making it as safe as is humanly possible, and it shows the length of progress that we've made, that these cars are as safe as they can be at the moment.
Ultimately, you want the racing to be as safe as possible, because the drivers out there, they're going very, very fast. Yeah. The danger is always going to be there. We can't remove the danger from motorsport without doing sim racing at home. But hey, you know, you might, I don't know.
Are you starting to judge sim racing at home?
It's not dangerous. It's not dangerous.
Well, me and you did some sim racing at home, and I'm pretty sure I felt in danger, especially when you'd started at the back of the grid. I remember you were cruising up to the back of it at a rapid rate.
Anyway, back to the real life safety, because of course sim racing is one way that a lot of these drivers train, but the drivers are out there. They're travelling extremely fast, and we know this because we were down by Cascades for qualifying, and the speed they're carrying. We would want all of these drivers to be able to race at the highest level and as fast as possible without the danger. We don't want to see anyone get hurt if we can at all help it. So the halo, the carbon fibre monocoque tub, all of the different bits and pieces, as we see is that Michael Shin got some sort of
that's what I was seeing. So that's what I was seeing. I didn't know if it was something loose in the car, but yeah, it's just a rag that's been caught up on the suspension. How much will that affect the aero? I didn't want to discuss you from your talks of safety.
I was just saying it's great that we've got such a safe car and a safe regulations for this GB3 Championship, and that's why people keep coming back, because it is competitive, fast, and as safe as they can potentially get it. But back to that rag, it will be more of an annoyance to Michael Shin than anything. He'll probably be able to see out the corner of his eye. He'll hope that it's not a piece of his front wing. Of course, it's not ideal. Your car is going to be more aerodynamic without a rag hanging off the front suspension, but he'll be racing forward nonetheless, and probably won't be taking much notice of it.
Can you actually see it from there? I guess you can.
Not quite. It's a bit too low.
You'll probably just see like a little something just like flapping up every now and then, and that would probably drive you crazy because you don't know what it is. And there's no, again, as we've said before, there are no no radios or anything, nothing like that. They can't communicate with it, so they have no idea.
Drivers are out there on their own.
Yeah, I think, by the way, we've got a very nice. Oh, whoa! that is a different. That is at the beach.
That is a Tatas MSV 022 shovel they've got going on there, and that shows that, you know, how hard it is to retrieve these cars. Because
from the gravel.
Yes, yeah, because the gravel is so deep there. It needs to be, because it's a very fast corner. I believe we've got the slow-mo coming in, Lewis. Let's have a look at some racing car.
Oh, Mavli top. This is where he went in a little bit deep.
I love this shot of the corner car of the curbs. Look at that. Pearson sending it over the curb, almost 4 wheels off the ground there. For Bursky as well, not so much curb. Yeah, you see that the GT cars will be jumping all over that big sausage on the inside that you're looking at there, and you can see Shin. There you go. Shin's got that rag that's stuck, and it's not holding him back too much. But they're only taking a little bit of the curb, because if these drivers hit that big sausage curb, as it looks like,
whoa,
you could see that the floor actually hit the ground. You do that too many times, these carbon floors, they can get damaged, so they won't be wanting to do that too much. But it's a compromise for the drivers. How much curb do you take? Because the more curb you take, of course, you shorten the line, open the corner up more, but then it unsettles the car and potentially increases the likelihood of any damage.
Can I just say, there is something about a motorsport slow-mo that it's so good.
Poetry in motion is what comes to mind.
There was a slow-mo yesterday, earlier on today, of Headley, right? And it was going through there as well, going through Britain's, and I'm just like, it's right at the end of the highlights package, like the second last clip, and like deep down in I was like, yes, and then the race winner was and part of me I was like, ooh, nice. No, we're in the highlights. You can't just keep it on point there. So you're absolutely right though. You're kind of pointing out there. Iwasaki once again keeping off the racing line, off the bit where people are treading the most, because that's the bit that's going to be clearer. and so he's going onto the wet stuff to try and cool the tyres a bit more.
You know what? It's actually very, very good forward thinking from Oulton Iwasaki in that elite motorsports car, because he was one of the first drivers on the wet tyres not to be weaving. A lot of the others were weaving around because it's just habit, but he actually thought about it and thought, right, what do I actually want to get out of my tyres? He wants longevity. He wants his tyres to be as cool as possible. So he is rolling round as slow as he can, keeping the tyres on the wet part of the circuit, 2 wheels on the grass occasionally, because he wants those tyres to be ambient or even cooler if he can because of the wind blowing over them, so that by the end of the race they are not completely overheated and completely destroyed, because he knows those slick shod cars, every minute we spend on the safety car is heading back into the favour of the slick tyred cars.
I think with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go, I'm not sure this safety car is doing a lap at 2 minutes 20.
This could be it, is what you're saying.
If you get what I'm saying, I think this might be it for the race, folks. I think it might be, I don't want to call it too early, might be a win for Mavlyatov, which I know obviously, you know, safety cars and whatever, but like, you got to be there to win it. And yes, you might be like, yes, with the full reverse grid or whatever like that, but he converted the start. He dealt with the difficult conditions. He held on to the pressure. He kept himself on the road. He didn't make any major mistakes. I mean, what more can you ask for? I think Mavlyatov's done a great job in the race just to keep the car on the road, and what has been insanely difficult. I mean, you know, not everyone has kept it on the road.
No, there's a lot of mud and grass being dragged onto the circuit there as well, so they'll probably have to clear that up, I would imagine. So potentially this could be the last lap. But tell you what, who has done well out of this? Headley in 11th place. He's come up from like 4th
His
last.
weekend, man. Like, was it 4th, 1st, and now 11th?
Yeah, and Loke as well has done well. They've pretty much been inseparable. Loke in 12th. Karshik's had a good race in 13th. Reese not far away in 14th, and that's a good result for Reese, considering he was actually on the quote-unquote wrong tyre and actually has done a pit stop, and he's only one place behind his teammate. So yeah, this is really shaken up the order. A very, very unusual race in the GB3 Championship here. Action-packed, drama-filled. Yeah, this is going to be the last lap. We will be getting the checker flag this time, because 54 seconds, well, 48 seconds now. This safety car's not going to get to the start-finish line before then. So they're all making their way slowly past the recovery vehicles, which is good to see. The drivers being very responsible there. Not as much racing that we've seen in this race as we would like. Some drama as well. Voicing getting collected at the start, out of shots. We don't know who is involved with that, but we can speculate. I'm sure we'll catch up with Voicing later on if we can.
Oh, I mean, you got a few questions to throw his way. I mean, I'll say it. You know, it is a little bit of disappointment. It is a little bit of an anti-climax for what could have been a very good race. But I will say, if you're having this, you know, maybe all the race 3s this season are going to be like this. Absolutely not. What we've done with race 3s is they've been extended by 5 minutes. Which brings in a bit more tyre strategy, it brings in a bit more raceability, and honestly, if there's one that I cannot wait for when it comes to these race 3s, it is Silverstone, which is the next round of the championship. Race 3 of that weekend, I can promise you now, even now, I'm like, that is going to be a proper race.
Well, we saw last year, in the fight, because it was one of the final rounds last year, wasn't it? And we saw the fight between Joel Granfuss and Luke Browning. They both came from the back of the grid up till I think it was like 3rd and 5th or something silly.
And that was
like
when
that.
I dropped the, and it's Nick Jilks. Whoa, that.
Yeah,
that was when I dropped that on the broadcast.
Yeah, that was an amazing race. And
what a moment.
Let's talk Mavlyatov through his first GB3 victory.
Yeah, what a stunning, like I say, stunning performance. He's just nailed it. Like you say, he got the bits that he needed right, and Mavlyatov will cross the line to take a win for Hill Speed. They have won in GB3 before. Their last win, of course, was in the hands of Nick Jilks last season. But Mavlyatov crosses the line to take the victory. Iwasaki and Pearson, the two that come across the line behind. Iwasaki, I've got to say, like, some of the moves, some of what he was putting on there, very, very impressive indeed. He's done a good job as Iwasaki, that is absolutely for sure. But Nico Christodoulou, I mean, a lot of drivers have had drama in the race. Nico Christodoulou's had a bit of a dramatic weekend. It's maybe not the weekend he would have wanted coming into this. Maybe would have expected more. Same for drivers like John Bennett, who just couldn't hook together the weekend. We'll take a look though at the results. As we can see, again, provisionally, Mavlyatov at the top of the standings, 7/10 clear. We'll ignore the gaps too much, obviously, under the safety car. Mavlyatov taking the victory, Iwasaki and Pearson the podium that we will be catching up with in a few moments' time. Shin in 4th, then Waberski, Taparis and Ping, making it 8 different drivers. Oh, and she as well, sorry. 8 different drivers from 8 different countries in the top 8. So that shows you where GB3 is these days. Morales and Dunn inside the top 10. And before we get to Headley, Loke, Kaharchek, then Reese, Arau in 15th position, then Stewart, Taylor, Christodoulou, Esterson and Arthur Roujon will be down in 20th after the retirement from Esterson, from Roujon, from Styko as well on the start of the race. Rashid, Cresswell, Bennett and Voisin all having issues. It's a big day for Rodin Carlin, so they've had some problems. We'll take a look at some highlights though from race number 3 of the weekend. As we got ourselves underway, it was Mavlyatov on pole position. The race down towards the first corner was dealt with some drama in the background. There was contact as Styko got into the back of Mackenzie Cresswell, who'd be able to get back round into the pit lane. Cresswell, though, was out of the race. A few drivers starting from the pit lane after changing tyres, and Zach Taylor was on the attack in the first corner. There was contact, though, and a spinner as we went through that first turn, but there was a bigger one in the background as out towards the wall goes Callum Voisin, one of your top lot in the championship, as he would be sent off to the barrier. Down towards Cascades for the first time, and in 2nd position it was a lot of pressure being dealt with from the rear end of Ping. You've got Waberski going on moves around the outside. Eventually there was a safety car. When the race got back underway, Mavlyatov was in control. Ping struggling for grip on the slick tyres, and he would lose out of position almost immediately to Ayato Iwasaki, who was all over the rear end coming through the first corner, would go for an up and under through that first turn and would take over 2nd position. Eventually the safety car would come out once again after a crash at Island Bend, and then across the line Mavlyatov would take the victory. It was a superb performance for Mavlyatov. As much as he didn't have to do too much in the race, he kept his nose clean, took the victory from Iwasaki and from Pearson. Again, an incredible performance from Mavlyatov. To have taken a win in your first weekend in GB3 is always a brilliant experience. And now it's time to go and catch up with our podium sitters with John Jackson.
Well, there's not a podium here at the moment, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just walk along here and see what we can see. Now, the cars are coming back to a different area. Actually, if we take a look around here while we wait for the cars to come, we can see Callum Voisin's Rodin Carlin car here. I'm going to get Piers' opinion on this when he joins me from the commentary box, but not looking so good. We've got the front left up in the air. We've got some kind of suspension failure on the back right. The back left's looking pretty dirty as well. Lots of dirt all over that car, and he's going to be pretty unhappy with what happened to him in that race. We are starting to get the trains of spare tyres coming through with the teams, which is always a good sign that drivers are coming. We'll see the podium in just a second. We can see trophies coming out. I'm just going to go for a little walk and talk, I think, cameraman Ben. Let's see what we can find. Here we go. Not entirely sure we've got any drivers just yet. It's just because it's so busy here today at Oulton Park, with it being a bank holiday Monday. I think there's a lot of people around here, and it's very, very busy. Oh, here we go. We've got some cars coming through here. We'll let them come through. We can see Mavlytov's car being weighed straight away, actually with him in the car, which is going to be very hard for me to chat to. You can see the damage here to the Douglas Motorsports car of Styko. Not ideal at all for him there. Getting very, very damaged, that one. We can see here Latov's car. Race winner, Turkish flag on the car there. So basically after the race, cars go and get weighed to make sure they're within the weight limits. Drivers get weighed as well. Quick turnaround here. Last race of the day. Everyone wants to make sure all the things are ticked off. Get the car in. Another train of tyres coming along here, as I say. Plenty of tyres, spare tyres. You can see we've got fresh sets there. We've got sets with all kinds of stones there, and the wets as well. If you've got 3 cars on the grid, you've got to make sure you've got 3 sets of tyres out there, I'm guessing. Right, Piers has rejoined me now as we continue to look at Daniel Mavlytov's car there. An interesting race. There had not much actual racing going on, but for someone like Mavlytov, who's come into this series the first time this weekend driving this car in racing circumstances, you know, there's still lots that could go wrong, isn't there, Piers?
Well, he was in the right place at the right time, ultimately on the right tyre. I mean, I think if we'd have gone racing, the slick would have been the place to be, but hey, he didn't panic, he kept it on the road, and that's all he needed to do. So a race win from Mavliatov and the Hillspeed team, that will give him great confidence going into the next round. And it's also just good, nice to have on your CV, isn't it? A race win. And
it is, absolutely. And basically, the car's now going into the scrutineering bay here just before we even get to the podium. And why is that, Piers? I mean, the cars are obviously getting weighed to make sure they fit within all the regulations and everything.
Yeah, of course. All the drivers and cars will get weighed to make sure that they are up to the minimum weight limit, and also they will do other checks on all of the cars around to make sure that they're all within the regulations in terms of the technical regulations as well. So it means that it's a fair championship.
Excellent stuff. Do they weigh the drivers as well?
Yes, of course. It's a minimum weight car and driver combined.
Excellent. Well, we can
off the top of my head
we
what
can
the weight
swing
is.
around here left, and we'll follow some of the drivers up to the podium here.
Yep.
Mr. Pearson, I'm going to point him in the right direction. Keep walking straight, sir. There we go. Yeah. So I mean, as I say, an interesting race there, and I mean that incident at the start was a little bit tricky, wasn't it, with Mackenzie Creswell falling foul of some poor visibility? Would you say it was, Sean Rashid?
Just a mistake from Creswell. He just dropped the clutch too much, stalled the car, maybe the adrenaline, and then well, it wasn't Rashid. I think it was Styko.
Oh, Styko. Sorry.
Styko,
yeah, I mean, we've just seen his car in the background.
Yeah.
There, just discussed
It's just unlucky. I mean, if you're unsighted, he was actually 2 rows back, directly behind, and the car in front, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, ducked out the way, and then that was it, crunch. So yeah, unfortunate for those. It just happens. Right,
let's chat with our race winner, Daniel Mavliatov. How are you feeling? That was not as much racing as you might have hoped for, but still, you still win the race, so happy days.
Yeah, thankfully no racing then, because the wets were not the tyre for that race. The whole track was dry. I mean, when I landed after the grid, I knew it was dry. I was just hoping there would be a lot of safety cars, because otherwise, yeah. And yeah, there was the first safety car. The restart was also quite good. I got quite a good gap. I think guys behind me, they had a bit of a wheel spin. And then yeah, some guys went off. It worked in my favour, but yeah, it says motorsport. Good day today.
Yeah, it's all good. You'll get a trophy at the end of the weekend, so can't complain there. How have you found your first weekend in GB3?
It's quite good. Yeah, I enjoy GB3, the car. This Oulton is probably, to be honest, my least favourite circuit in the UK. It's nice to be able to win this race here. But yeah, now looking forward to Silverstone, which is a track that I like, and yeah, a little better at. So yeah, looking forward to next weekend now.
It can't be bad taking a winner's trophy into that race in Silverstone, so congratulations. We'll let you go and celebrate with the rest of the Hillspeed team. Daniel Mavliatov, let's move round here.
It was Saki, Ioto, I know English isn't your first language, but you're happy with that result?
Yeah.
Very happy.
Very happy, yes.
Brilliant. Well, good luck in the next rounds. Great to chat for you. I know that English is not your strongest, but your driving was great, so well done.
Congratulations,
right.
Congratulations. Let's find, here we go. How was it out there? We just chatted to the race winner, Daniel Mavliatov, and he was suggesting that it wasn't a lot of racing going on, but still the concentration has to be there to finish that race and not make a mistake while others around you are making huge mistakes.
Yeah, no, it was tough. I mean, when we went out, I went, oh my God, it's dry, because it was dry, and I don't think we expected that. But it started to rain again when the first safety car came out, so I went, okay, it might be okay. But I just kept my concentration, kept my head down, and made sure I could just finish the race. That's all you could really do.
I was just asking Daniel about the first weekend in GB3. How have you found it?
Tough, but I think we got a lot more pace than it looks on paper. I think our qualifying was not our true pace. I think we've got pace to be in the top 10, so I think hopefully that'll improve throughout the season.
Excellent stuff. We'll let you get on with the podium ceremony right now, and Lewis McGlade will talk us through the podium.
Wow, what a race! What a race it was! As it was.
Here we go.
What an incredible race then. So Pearson taking over 3rd position as he would take to the 3rd step for his first podium in the championship. It was Saki. Obviously he showed off his prowess back in the second round. In the final round of last year. And then our race winner, Mavliatov, taking his first win. Maybe he doesn't like Oulton Park, which I'm going to mark him down on, to be honest. I love Oulton Park. Oulton Park's a sick track. But it does sometimes create issues like that. It's a hard racetrack to master, courtesy of the conditions, courtesy of the difficulty, and especially on days like this. These three, I mean, like you say, yes, I know there were safety cars in there, but they did the job. That's the important bit. And for Hillspeed to be on top again, I'm sure that's a good feeling for them and the team based in Markham Vale. Into the picture as well comes Joseph Loke to win the fastest lap award of the weekend. And I've got to say, let's give some extra credit to Joseph Loke, because it wasn't just the fastest lap of the weekend, it was the fastest ever race lap at Oulton Park International. Cam on cam again. He cannot help himself. He's just there on the right hand side. One of our people, don't worry about it. Extra plaudits to Joseph Loke. It was an incredible lap on Saturday, and it's kind of one of those, we were expecting the conditions to be like this, and so it's that vein of it's now or never. They were either breaking the lap record on Saturday, or it wasn't being broken this weekend. And these cars are fast enough. These drivers are fast enough to do it, and Joseph Loke has done it. I can't remember how old that record was. I think it was something like 13 years.
So we'll
jump down the pits.
Managed to grab Jared Waberski. Jared, that's a pretty strong result for you. I think in top 5 there. Bit of a crazy race. Not much actual racing going on, but how are you feeling with that?
Yeah, I think overall to come from 15th to 5th to gain 10 places was really good for us after a really disappointing second race. So yeah, I'm really chuffed with that. Obviously, we didn't get much racing. I was really hoping the safety car would come in and maybe I could move forward onto the podium, but I think overall it's a good result for us and a good result for the team, and yeah, we just can work off this and work for Silverstone next.
Of course, and with the reverse grid, every place you gain is another point, so that's a plus 10 points. So that's nice for the championship, looking ahead to the rest of the year.
Yeah, we just went into this race just make up as many points as we could, and on the first lap I just tried to get as many places as possible. Yeah, the first safety car I think saved us because the track was starting to dry out. Then it started to rain again, so yeah, quite happy that happened. But it's just that second safety car. I was just hoping for that to just come in a little bit sooner, but it happened. So.
Anyway, great to chat to you, Jared. Thanks for talking to us. Well done this weekend. Of course, you had a bit of an issue in the second race, but you bounced back well. So I think we're going to grab a word with Eddie Ives. Eddie, team principal. What would you call yourself at Elite Motorsport?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, team principal, I guess.
Yeah, are you happy with the weekend? Of course, Ayoto Iwasaki's second place. He's racing over here in the UK. He doesn't speak much English, but hey, he's quick on a circuit.
Yeah, no, look, he's had a really good end to the weekend, really good race 3. But no, from a team point of view, we've had a pretty disastrous weekend.
Yeah, it's not been the strongest weekend for Elite, for one thing and another. We used to seeing you guys all up the front. You were really consistent towards the end of last year. Struggled a little bit in quali, I believe.
Yeah, we well, mainly Mackenzie. Mackenzie had a big shunt on Thursday, which put us massively on the back foot. I think we had a broken rear roll bar, so that screwed up quali, and then we've been okay since. But yeah, things haven't exactly gone his way. But look, we'll be back fighting at Silverstone. Back
fighting at Silverstone. You've had a good car at Silverstone the last few years. 11 taking a couple of good results. I think a couple of podiums, and obviously John Bennett was fast there last year as well. Look forward to seeing you guys get on well there, and thanks very much for chatting to us.
Cool, thank you very much.
Cheers. And I think, who's next? We've got Jonas. I think we're going to grab a word with potentially
well, we're going to speak with Joseph Loke in a second, but first we're going to chat with Alex Dunn.
Well, Alex Dunn, his drivers everywhere. Alex, that was kind of crazy out there. You had to avoid all the carnage, but managed to come out with a decent result.
Yeah, I think this weekend's been pretty difficult for myself. I guess it's good to finish on somewhat of a high. I don't think I actually made a single overtake. I just kind of stayed calm and watched it all unfold and stayed clean and managed to get a couple of positions out of it. So yeah, in the end, I'm pretty happy. I think we have a little bit of work to do, but I'm happy with how it finished.
Yes, and of course, this is your first race in the GB3 Championship. You've had great success in other series. Qualifying didn't go as, I think, in your own high estimations as to plan as you would have liked it to, but a good bounce back for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I think definitely the pace has been there. In qualifying, unfortunately, I got traffic on my best lap, so it kind of put me a little bit further back than what I would have liked. And then, I think in the race it was kind of just damage limitation, and then unfortunately in race 2 I had a mistake today where I went off. So yeah, definitely not the best weekends by my standards. I think definitely we can improve and do much better than what we did this weekend. But I'm sure that in Silverstone we'll be able to show that.
Of course, and at Silverstone, historically the high-tech car has been very, very fast. Even the last few years, Luke Browning, of course, had some excellent results. So yeah, you're looking forward to the next round there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think pre-season testing has gone well pretty much everywhere, so I don't see why we won't be at the front there.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing how you get on there. Well done. Thanks for chatting to us, Alex. And then we're going to have a word with Noah Ping. Noah, you were all amongst the action there. Was it slicks? Was it wets? Who knows?
It was definitely slicks, I can guarantee it. If I had to make the decision again, I would go slicks again. We just got unfortunate because we had a big wreck and then a long safety car. And of course, right when we went green, it started raining. So it's unfortunate, but I wouldn't change anything about it. Not sure how points are going to get awarded this race, but I'm sure it's not going to be full. But if it is, it is. But I'm looking forward to next round at Silverstone. We got a few tests that I can learn, and hopefully I'll be up there and not reverse grid, but right there at the start. So we'll just see how it goes.
Right, well, great to hear from you. Thanks very much. I think we'll grab one final word with Joseph Loke, who is, I think, was it
fastest? Joseph, for your fastest lap of the weekend, Piers.
Fastest lap of the weekend. A very good and very, very strong initial, basically debut in the GB3 Championship. Happy with how it's gone?
Very happy. Obviously, it's the best we could have asked for. You know, picking up 2 podiums. Obviously, one of them being a win. You know, fastest lap of the weekend as well. You know, it's just been a dream for me. Obviously, I'm against such good drivers in this championship, and the fact that I can fight with them and, you know, beat them as well, it's quite special for me, and yeah, just really proud of myself and the team.
Great for the confidence going into the rest of the year, I'm sure.
100%. Obviously, we're going into some big tracks like, you know, Silverstone, Spa, Zandvoort, which I haven't necessarily raced on. You know, I've done Silverstone National, but I've not done the full GP, so it's going to be tricky to get myself up to speed there. But I've got no doubts that we'll be able to do that, and yeah, I'm just excited to see what comes.
Well, congratulations on such a successful weekend. We'll see you back at Silverstone at the next round.
Cheers, mate. Congratulations. Yeah, Joseph Loke, very, very impressive on his GB3 debut there. The rain has just started again, which is going to be very interesting. A little bit of a break until the final GB4 race of the weekend, just before 5 o'clock, that one. So we've got a couple of hours at least until that happens. So who knows what's going to happen? We could have hail. Will it snow? Probably not. It probably won't snow. But yeah, maybe not as much action as we hope for in terms of racing action, but certainly a lot of action in that race as we see the recovery truck arrive with another car. Can't quite see who it is. It's another Douglas Motorsport car there. Not great for them, but I think the first weekend of the GB3 Championship has thrown up some eventful moments, Piers.
Hey, it's been entertaining, it's been dramatic. Hopefully it's been worth the wait for all your fans at home. I've loved being able to watch it and call it on the comms, and I'm hoping for more of the same, but maybe a little bit less craziness with the weather, because I think not only do the teams not enjoy it, the drivers not enjoy it, but also it can cause some chaos. And we want to see a race weekend where we can see the best drivers fight against each other throughout the race. We didn't get much racing in race 3 that time out.
Yeah, I know we've got a lot of different nationalities of drivers driving this weekend. So hello if you're watching abroad, thank you very much for tuning in, especially maybe if you're in Australia, as we've got a few fans watching in. I appreciate it's not the best of time for you. So thank you very much for joining us. As I say, one more race coming up this weekend in the GB4 Championship, reverse grid race again. That's just before 5 o'clock, and the big news is that returning on co-commentary is last year's rock star from the GB4 Championship, Max Maserati. He'll be commentating alongside Piers Pryor, making his lead commentator debut. So I'm looking forward to that. Max will be a huge character, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, of course, we've spoken to Max many times on the stream before, and it's great to have him in the comms box with me later on. He'll be calling all the action, of course, from a point of very, very recent knowledge.
Absolutely. I don't know if he'll be wearing the aviators this time because the sun has very much disappeared. That's just before 5 o'clock. Of course, you can re-watch all of the GB3 races and the 2 GB4 races we've had so far this weekend exactly where you're watching now. And make sure you're following all the social media channels as well for the latest from the drivers, the teams, and the GB3 Championship.